Well, everyone, welcome back to another episode of DePIN, video edition, actually. This is a very, very special edition. Typically, we're doing Twitter Spaces, but here we're in beautiful Singapore for Token 2049. Got some amazing guests over here, and really excited to get talking. But before we get started, I want to just go ahead and throw it around, ask everyone about their experiences so far at Token 2049, and kind of just kick things off from there. So I'll go to Robin first, actually, and then we'll kind of, just go around.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm really excited. Excited to be in Singapore first time. So far Token 2049 has been awesome. A lot of interesting projects, people, we met a lot of our investors here, had some really exciting events. This is a beautiful place, beautiful house. I'm happy to be here and meet some more new people and have some interesting
It's also been kind of hot, but...
yeah, but it's awesome. Yeah, it's been great. It's been great. I'm loving it.
No, heck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Lukasz.
So, well, I live here, right? So as a Singaporean American, I can say that I love Token. I hate F1 because all the roads are closed. So driving over to the venue, I was like, oh my God, it should be. That was intense. But the conference has been amazing. I've been connecting with a lot of cool people. Lots of smart people, on the show floor. I was very, very impressed. The level has, the quality level has gone up. Amazing thing. Really recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, man. This is so far for me, at least, it's been an amazing city to explore. It's my very first time here, and it's been awesome. So I definitely agree with the traffic aspect. The traffic comment was, it's been a little rough, but you get that with cities, I guess. But again,
have you gotten some pepper crab yet, though?
No, I need to get pepper crab.
Yo,
see?
You're missing the point.
What is pepper crab?
Okay,
it is a Singaporean
Let's
thing.
stop it for a second. Go get yourself some crab. We got to resume later.
And go get some pepper crab.
And you got the right thing because, people rave about the chili crab, right? See, I don't eat eggs, right? So chili crab gets a little bit tricky for me, right? But black pepper crab. You didn't know you can't do that stuff with black pepper.
It's amazing.
That sounds really good. I need to try
That's what I'm here in Singapore for.
Put that down on our list.
That's what I'm here in Singapore for, is for the black pepper crab. That's it.
Can't do his homework.
Everything else.
So Token 2049 is a side event for you?
It's a side event for me. Yeah, that's right. But actually, funny enough, I don't even have a badge to the conference because I'm doing only side events.
Me too.
And
you can just pay with the crab shells. Just drop the crab shells, go there you go. Oh no, please sir.
Yes,
right there.
we know that you know what you're doing. No, it's just been nonstop events. And then today we're here at the Tashi house. So it's I'm here from, I got here at 8 o'clock and I'll be here till 1 a.m. So I'm stuck here, not getting pepper crab, unfortunately, today. But I'm going to try to do it tomorrow before I go home. So
awesome.
I'm going
to bring you some next time I show up this week. We'll have to figure that out.
It's not a thing you bring.
It's not a thing you bring?
No, you got to eat fresh, man.
And you got to go to a specific place, too.
Okay, so I have to travel to the pepper crab.
Okay. That's where it gets salt. Yep. You get a good frog legs there. You want to go to Changi Village for seafood. I'll brief you guys.
Yeah, we'll coordinate this.
Welcome to the DePIN Food Podcast.
We'll orchestrate this. It's a special edition.
This is a special food edition.
We're serious about cooking here.
Yes, decentralizing food, decentralizing taste buds.
That's right.
Is what we're here for. But I guess, Karam, how's your experience been Token 2049 so far?
Yeah, same as everyone else. The side events are way better than the main event, but I think this year has been way bigger than last year. We tried to get the main event out early in the morning, and we actually got there early at 9:30, and there were literally 5,000 people in line waiting to get in, even when we got there. So it's kind of cool to see that it's sort of leveling up year on year. But 100% the side events where it's at.
Yeah, I feel like the side events at most of these conferences are pretty much where the meat and potatoes is, right? It's where the bulk of the meat and potatoes. Yeah, talking about food. You got me thinking about food analogies.
I've been snacking here and there.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've gained a lot of value and experience from the side events at most places. So definitely have the same kind of take. But just really happy to be hosting this. Really happy to be here. But I guess let's go ahead and get into the other meat and potatoes of the conversation. So I know that many of you here are gearing up for TGEs. I know that we've all had our own experiences with TGEs in the past with various other projects and whatnot. So I would love to kind of go around the room and just get everyone's kind of opinions or maybe thoughts about their TGEs in the past if they have any. But also just going into what you're doing for your TGE, what you're doing to maybe overcome certain challenges, what road bumps, I guess, speed bumps, road bumps. I can't talk right now. Speed bumps you guys have run into.
Actually, I want to think because I think we're split sort of 50-50, right? Robin, you haven't launched a token before this, right? This is first.
No, it's my first time in Web3, this project, so
Right,
it's
so
all new.
No,
For
it's
both
welcome.
of us, our projects are going to be launching soon, and it's first time thing. I think you guys have been around the block entirely, so
No pun intended.
yeah, fair enough. So I guess I was wondering, like, what advice would you have for us?
Yes.
Or what's
Well,
the best way to
yeah,
think about
I,
it? Set expectations for us, because I think for us it's this event horizon. Like we
Yeah.
can see up to TGE, but we have no idea what the world looks like
wow.
beyond that.
Yeah.
It's you just look past Rubicon. Well, I've been involved in 3 TGs thus far to date, and I can tell
3?
you, yeah,
Wow.
and I can tell you, don't rush it. All right, don't rush it. Obviously, that depends, like like what you're building, right? I mean, if you're like launching first an L1, right, there are very good chances that would probably want to launch your native token on your native chain, right? There's also a lot of merit behind, like why would you want to do that? Let's say on the an EVM compatible chain, something like that, and just migrate it there, right? Makes it a lot easier for for people to get integrated with, right? But see that the moment you get the token out, that's where the expectations start building. Like let's just dwell on the fact, like, why do you need tokens, right? And the way I look at that stuff is basically you're kind of circumnavigating, like public sale without going public in a sense, right? And if you rush it too much, you may not be in position to be able to present enough value that your product's trying to deliver, right? Typically, like TGEs are just, like surrounded with a lot of, buzz, a lot of expectations all built up, right? If you fail to stand up to these expectations, that may and most likely will backfire. And you don't want to put yourself in a position where you can't recover for that because, you're going to end up with the curve of death, right? So again, just recapping, my piece of advice would be don't rush it, be strategic about it, okay? It's just a step in the journey. It's not the end goal.
I guess my response to that then would be, you're talking about like being patient, but is there such thing as waiting too long? Like, how do you kind of
absolutely.
keep the community at
See,
bay?
and
I
this
guess
is
the people are like, when TGE?
This is this fine balance, because like you could be building, the most useful and the most desired thing on the planet, but if you take too late, nobody's gonna care, dude. Like people have, and I got pretty strong ADHD, and I can say that people have less of an attention span than a goldfish nowadays. Like, so you just got a flicker. You got a flicker of moment, to like hit the nail on the head, right? You can't drag it out too much, but just be sure that you can, from the get-go, present the value of your product and be able to articulate where the token fits in, what value that brings, how it enriches the use of the product for your audience. I think that if you balance that properly, solve enough narrative and enough evidence to back it, you'll be in a good position. Above all, you don't want to go growing like that, on the launch date, because you will not be able to, like keep that.
So you don't want to like, rise too far and then like fall too, like you go too fast, then you fall really quickly.
The bigger they get, the harder they fall, right?
But in a market where like attention spans are getting shorter and shorter, the way that you talked about, do you think like the broad retail audience and sort of everyone else thinks about your project in a way, for example, that a more seasoned investor or VC would look at it, where do people really care that month on month you're making progress and that sort of thing post TG? Because I think sometimes you see a lot of fairly good DePIN projects specifically, right? Where you see them announcing all-time highs every other week, new deals being announced, all of that, but it doesn't seem to make any impact. Like, and I'm trying to sort of, and I'd love to hear what you think about it, like your expectations.
I mean,
also.
This has been a super big challenge for me because like I've had 7 companies before this one, but it's all Web 2.
Okay.
And normally when you start a company, with the exception of maybe like an AI company that scales super fast, it takes maybe 5 to 8 years to really scale a business. And what I see missing in most projects is there's no revenue. There's no revenue in the project. So like it's a really hard thing to balance. Like, we pushed our TG several times because when we started, I knew nothing. So the expectations were completely wrong, and then we realized that we were not ready. So now we're getting to a point where we actually have quite a nice revenue stream. So we have a lot of customers buying the data, and we have a lot of partnerships coming out that's going to add additional value to the token after it launches through this portal we are going to announce at some point. So now we feel like we're ready. but it's still only not even 2 years, and 2 years in the real world is not
Right,
that
nothing.
long, but in crypto is forever.
Eons.
So that's been a challenge for me. And then another challenge is definitely like, you talk to people and they're like, this is the Web3 playbook. This is how you do it. Well, it seems like the playbook is not a one size fits all because everyone is unique. Some projects, the token is the product. In our project, the product is the product. The token is the enabler to build the product. So I feel like maybe the playbook needs to adjust over time. Maybe it doesn't fit for everybody. My personal opinion is like doing a bunch of airdrops before TG is like not a good idea because that's like for me giving a token to someone should bring business value back.
Exactly.
Otherwise, I dilute the value of the token. So managing that with exchange discussions, market maker discussions, really difficult because sometimes you get an offer from someone that was like, this is so unreasonable. Like who would ever sign this? So dealing with that is hard.
Bang on.
And I feel like it's just trying to navigate how to not get effed.
So no such thing as free money is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's like, and it's also now we've added on people on the team and we have advisors that know a lot more than me because navigating the Web3, never having done it before, I think it's kind of like you're a little fish jumping into a shark tank trying to swim around and not get killed.
Right.
Yeah, so it's definitely challenging. But now we feel like we're in a good spot. We have a lot of stuff figured out. We have a good strategy. But most importantly, we have a real business now. Like we have real revenue. We have a lot of customers. We have real product.
Just a bunch of blasphemy you're speaking over here.
Yeah.
Real business, revenue,
No.
no airdrops. Oh
I mean,
my
I think,
goodness. airdrops.
I think honestly,
Done.
like if I ever do a project in the future, what I would love to do is just just set up an asset management company. Instead of buy back and burn, I just keep putting money in the asset manager and I peg the token to it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then as the business grows, generating revenue, that grows over time. So it's like no reason to ever sell the token because the longer you hold it, longer it's gonna.
So what's the value of the token in that scenario? Like, why have a token? Why not just?
Well, it's a token
the
essentially.
revenue?
If you did that, right, it would represent essentially a share of the company that you can exit back to the company. So security stuff, but that's not what we're doing. But that would be interesting because then it's like a clear correlation.
But some people with treasuries are doing this thing where they're not buying back and burning immediately. They're sort of buying back and just holding it in the project treasury to then see at a later date what the best move with those tokens.
I'm not a fan of burning in general, so I will put that right out. As I think unless there's like an organic value to the function of the project,
Right.
burning is an artificial way to reduce circulating supply, which unsustainable. It's not a deflationary model that people claim it is.
Right.
It's just artificially manipulating your economy.
I agree.
Yeah.
Can
And
I
it
push
only
back on
lasts
that?
for so long.
But can I push back on? Oh, sorry.
May I just
no.
tag along with that? Look, like
Yeah.
you've heard about like shares getting introduced to the pool. Have you ever heard about shares getting burned?
No. Buybacks. Plenty
Buybacks.
of buybacks.
Buybacks, but
Yeah.
they don't get burned, and that's the exact same thing,
Ah.
Because you treat tokens as fungible tokens as currency, but it's not like currency. You got to think about it as stock options in a sense that just get out
Be
there
careful.
prematurely.
Regulators are listening.
Hey, the SEC just cleared
No
it for
SEC.
fine.
I said something akin to that.
Yeah.
Okay?
No action, Ken. No
Yes.
Is it? My bad. But you know what I'm saying? Like try to think about it in a slightly different manner.
Oh, wait. Okay. Let me present a slightly alternative view
Okay.
to that. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but maybe in some models, the proof of the activity is sort of done a little differently. But like, let's say in our model, for example, the proof of the data being consumed is the fact that the token was used to buy that data and then burned, right? So you're sort of linking literally the proof of work to the burning of the token. So in that sort of thing, do you think it still doesn't make much sense? Or do you think that...
So I did a use case in the renewable energy credit space where we were tracking carbon and tracking carbon credits. So
Okay.
renewable energy credits. And what you could do is you could pair the two. You could say, I'm going to take my carbon and the tokens that represent the carbon I generated. And I'm going to go out to a secondary market and buy credits that offset that carbon. And then I burned the two of them and took the proof of the burn and created a report that could go for compliance.
Correct.
So in that model, you did have two tokens that had some type of value, but they were non-fungible because carbon doesn't equal carbon and credits, renewable energy credits don't equal other renewable energy credits. They're all non-fungible. But in that scenario, you have tokens of value that you can burn and it removes it from the economy, but you removed it from the economy because you're representing the offset. And that offset is that proof of burn is the offset proof.
Right.
And so in that scenario where there's a functional value to a burn, I'm like, dude, there's a functional value to the burn, do it. It sounds like you guys are leaning more towards that direction of like a burn represents some
Proof of data being
proof
consumed.
of something happening.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to look closer to see how I
Fair
really
enough.
feel about it.
Yeah.
And I'd be completely honest too if I were to come to a different conclusion. But it feels like it's more functional. If there's a way to repurpose that and do buybacks or like reallocate it back to the treasury, like in our scenario, when we do slashing against bad actors in our DePIN, we just take the slash value and put it back in the treasury. It's like, all right, cool, you did a bad thing. We're going to go reissue that to somebody else who's doing a good thing.
Gets you to recycle value in a more
Exactly.
sustainable, long-term sort of way.
Yep.
That makes sense.
So if not the burn model, then like what from the Tashi point of view, or I guess like in the roadmap, then what are you guys planning on doing if not the burn model?
Well, if you go back to like how we calculate the value of a coin according to Vitalik's old price discovery equation, right? You have a few variables you can play with. You can play with transaction volume is one thing you can play with. Velocity, how quickly value comes into your network or your system, or how quickly that value leaves your system, and circulating supply. So those are the variables you can play with to determine what your price is. Transaction volume is what everybody should be focusing on. This is the business. Like, how do we grow transaction volume? We grow it by growing the business, by growing activity of what we're doing. But we can reduce circulating supply to pump up the price of a token. And the way that people have done that over the last few years is let's create artificial mechanisms for reducing circulating supply, staking models, burning models. How do we reduce the circulating supply? If you stake for this period of time, we're going to give you a 15% yield because we're banking that by doing that, we're increasing the value of the token by more than 15%. And it's just a gamble.
Yeah.
We don't know that that's going to happen. And velocity. This is one where a lot of networks are losing a lot of value is because people will buy into the token long enough to do a function and then sell the token once the function's been executed. So the velocity or the onboarding and off-ramping of value onto your network is another one. So you got to think about all these variables of like, okay, how am I going to deal with those variables? With Tashi, I'm not worried about transaction volume. Like once we've got our SDKs deployed, we're going to have so much transaction volume, I'm going to be like fighting to bring on more resources. So that's not my concern. But circulating supply, okay, how do we reduce circulating supply of my Tashi token? The answer to that is we've made staking a security model into how we operate our DePIN, and it's also a penalty model, so that's how we slash. So we say stake something of value so that you can bond a node to it. So we're not asking you to buy node licenses in our model. Some do that. If you got hardware, it makes a whole lot of sense. When you have hardware, somebody's got to pay for the hardware. But some people are selling software licenses, and I'm like, I don't know that like that's necessarily worth it. So we're giving away our software, the software licenses for our nodes. But to operate a node, you have to bond to a staked value. So you stake your Tashi, you bond your node to it, and you're basically saying, if my node does bad things, go ahead and slash some of this. That stake has two mechanisms. One is the part of the security model with this slashing, but the other part is it's also a reputation multiplier for the selection algorithm of who's going to get which job in our DePIN. So when somebody talks to our API and says, I need a relay for 5 minutes to do a job, here's half a penny. Someone's got to do that job, and the selection algorithm is going to go, okay, well, here's a subset of all of the nodes in the network who are going to meet that quality of service requirement. Who has the highest reputation? Okay, you're the first one in line to get that selection. So the idea is the more you stake, the more likely you are to get selected for jobs and more likely to earn because you're basically putting your money where your mouth is. Now there's diminishing returns because we don't want whales coming in just being like, I'm going to put 10 million on this node and I'm going to take every job. Part of our selection algorithm also accounts for it. So there's diminishing return and there's a selection algorithm component that, there's a way to figure this out so that new people with little money can participate as much as the people with the big money.
Important thing.
And so anyway, but the point being is like staking for us is part of the selection algorithm and part of the penalty model or the security model. And we also are creating an incentive where if you do decide to cash out of our network into our token, we incentivize people by giving them rewards for restaking because it improves the security of our network and improves the reputation and keeps people engaged with the business. So we're creating buy pressure on the token, and by staking, we're reducing circulating supply. And because we're staking, we're also not allowing value to leave the network. I shouldn't say not allowing, but people are volunteering not to remove the value from the network. So value's coming in and not leaving. So those two variables that tend to get artificially manipulated, velocity and circulating supply, are kind of handled organically in our business. You can see projects like, I love Hedera to death, but people buy HBARs long enough to do a really low cost, fast function, and then they cash out as soon as possible. So they have high velocity, which is hard to combat. So that's why token price sometimes struggles to go up. There's not a lot of staking happening on Hedera. As a matter of fact, Hedera's staking model is a dynamic staking model where you can stake, but you can still spend out of the account. So you're not reducing circulating supply or slowing down velocity. So they've done two things that I think are great for consumers, but really suck for token price.
What's the broad model you guys are following?
So initially, we actually thought about the buyback and burn. That's what we have. But I think for, we have, when you spend the tokens on data, or if you spend it on the perks we have coming out, those are just, you burn the tokens in order to get the perk or the data. But yeah, so initially we thought we're going to put some revenue to buyback and burn. We had 50%. I don't know if it's right or wrong. It was just, like you come in and
you gotta start somewhere. Yeah.
But I think for me the most important thing is because what I feel, and this may be right or wrong, is that in Web3 a lot of people want the rules to be set from day one, and I understand why.
Yeah.
But also the issue I have with that is like when I'm on day one, I have no clue what I'm doing. So like whatever rules I set day one is going to be 100% wrong. And like we've changed our rewards algorithm because it was not balanced in the beginning. We changed the way you register your hexagons, like because that was imbalanced. Like we know more now, but in 6 more months or a year, we're gonna realize what we're doing here is done.
Right.
So I need to keep the flexibility in order to change. I think just what needs to stay solid is like this is the allocation we're gonna put towards the miners, and we're not gonna do certain things, but like I still need to maintain a high level of flexibility. Otherwise, like I feel like I'm kind of strapped and doing maybe needed changes. So like right now it's buyback and burn. It's not going to be on a set schedule. Maybe it's better to do buyback and hold, or just put it back into treasury and reuse it for other initiatives. So it's still very flexible, but that's what we're thinking right now.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like that a lot of I've heard a lot of this in the space, especially recently in the DePIN space. But there's this idea that a lot of teams should have a high degree of control, especially very early on in the project, so they can make decisions like that.
I mean, again, I'm not from a Web3 background, so maybe it's just my thought is, which is I guess a lot to ask for. Like I just need people to trust that I'm trying to do the right thing, because that's what I'm trying to do, and keep that flexibility. Because like I guarantee you, if we had set everything the rules day one, the project would have failed already.
Yeah, you got to be benevolent dictator at the beginning.
Yeah. So right now we're very much.
So let me add to that though. You can still align the incentives.
Yeah.
And that's the decentralization part. Is like if your incentive is aligned with my incentive as a token holder, I'm trusting that you're going to do what's in my best interest because it's also in your best interest.
Yeah.
Financially, very rarely do people burn their whole house down.
Exactly.
Right. So it's they might burn their neighbor's house down, but
Yeah, I'm not going to comment. I just get a nice line.
But I think that's the cool thing about DePIN project, because like I think it's so obvious, and I don't know people do rugs here and there, whatever, but like if you don't take care of the foundation, which is the people in the network, your business is gonna fail. So it's like a kind of a natural incentive to keep there's like a scale. You have the business side and you have the community side, and you have to balance it well, because if it tips too far either way, one is gonna suffer. And I think it's almost like building a two-sided marketplace in a way. You need to have both sides, and you need to care for it properly. And then, I think it's just...
Well, damn.
Yeah, I think it's...
Sorry.
Yeah. So I think
this up. That's the joke we need.
So I think for us, it's just going to be continuous small iterations as we see like these people are not getting enough tokens for the value they provide and so on, and make small adjustments. But yeah, I don't know. We're in a pretty good place, I think, but there's definitely stuff we don't know yet. So trying to figure it out as we go.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. On that note too, so when it comes to governance and decentralized governance, I guess like how far I guess is Wingbits willing to go there? Like, are you going to go full decentralized governance at some point, or is it like going to remain like that?
I don't know.
Control
Right now, it's very very centralized. Like right now we have no governance.
Right.
Right now the token is mainly like it's an enabler to grow the business and reward the people that help us build. It would be great to go towards that governance in the future, but I think before we go that route, in just my opinion, we need to know that our model is actually really set and solid.
Yeah.
Because if I go there too early, then I'm like, okay, well now it's going to be really difficult to make needed changes.
Man,
So yeah, so
you gotta stop sounding like a business founder who's gonna generate revenue. You don't sound anything. You don't sound anything like a Web3.
No
startup.
airdrops, like come on.
Wait a minute, though, on that one.
and I'm not saying
I do
I
agree
may
with
be
that, though,
completely
to a certain
wrong.
extent.
It's just that that's my opinion from I just built businesses before, and I know every business I built. I didn't know anything in the beginning. I learned more. We made massive changes, and eventually it was good. And I know it takes a long time to get to good, and so I need to make those changes along the way. So if I lock myself in halfway, then I'm probably going to fail.
But
And then
you
I
guys
do
have
everyone a
seen
disservice.
token launches before, like more than we have. Like, how much do you think of vibes versus metrics, right? Because it seems to be hard to balance that. You could be running the greatest project that generates epic revenue, does useful things, but if nobody's heard about you or it doesn't have that
Pizzazz.
that need where when someone hears about it, they want to tell their friends about a thing. Like, how do you guys think about vibes versus metrics? And nowadays, even vibes have metrics.
Vibe metrics.
Yeah, like Kaito and shit, right? It's
Or Vetrix.
Yeah.
yeah, completely.
I mean, look, like during the NFT hype, right? There was this marketplace. What is it called? Rarible. Have you guys heard about
Yeah,
it?
Rarible, yeah.
They injected zero liquidity into their token, right? To add to what you were saying, right? They only built up the value on the trading volume. And you didn't directly own the token, right? You just traded in, I don't remember, I think that was wrapped ETH or something. But by trading in that, you were gradually drip fed some, I don't remember the ticker of the token, but, some variable tokens, right? And then, at some point they realized that, we got this many holders, right? They acquired these tokens in an organic manner by utilizing our marketplace, this kind of stuff. I stopped following what happened with the token down the road, but bottom line is that it got from zero to something that is non-zero without massive, round of funding or anything to influence the value. And this is, I think that one of the most, if you want to talk about organic growth, that was the way to do that. Okay, it was like, we don't want you to set any expectations with regard to the token. You just got to get it. Why we got to give it to you? Because we got it. So just go take it, right? We're not got to be taking somebody else's money, putting it there. Okay, if it grew, great. If it didn't, well, too bad. You just got some, keepsakes and this kind of stuff. Right?
But I do think it's different for everybody sitting here because
Absolutely.
We've got customers that we have a fiduciary responsibility to deliver some quality of service.
Yeah.
Whether it's edge compute synchronization or connectivity or
My great personality.
My data.
My cutting remarks.
Data quality
Exactly.
for you, yeah.
But we've got a legal fiduciary responsibility to deliver something, which is why I appreciate builders coming in and figuring out, okay, what can we use Web3 for? How is Web3 useful? And I think we need to start from that perspective of first of all, is my business viable?
Yeah, 100%.
And then the next question is, why Web3? Is there actually a value add from Web3? In our case, we're we can cut game infrastructure costs by at least half by using Web3 synchronization protocols that we invented. But now we also got to build a DePIN to replace all the cloud infrastructure that would otherwise have been centralized. And so it's we're trying to slowly decentralize pieces of it and save money for end users, but also give them better quality of service. I think that's the important thing is if I'm a consumer and I got to pay a little bit more to ensure that my game doesn't lose customers because their experience is bad, I'm going to pay a little bit more and forget Web3. But if you bring to me Web3 that is more resilient, okay, so do you remember what my 3 business drivers are, William?
Oh my goodness. You said, just repeat
So
it,
we'll
please.
start.
Repeat it.
Make more money,
Yes.
spend less money,
And stay out of jail.
and stay out of jail.
Yeah, there we go. There
If
we
you're
go.
not adding value in one of those 3 areas in a way that is competitive with what exists currently, then what are we doing here? We're just playing with tokens.
I agree 100% because I feel like so many people think just because you have a Web3 model, they're going to use it. Your product needs to be better, number one.
Yep.
You need to be cheaper, better, something. It needs to provide more value.
Yeah.
And then if you also happens to have a better model, that's amazing because then that kind of supercharges already better product. But if the product is not better, why would I ever use it? You're not solving my problem just because you have a cooler model. that is more decentralized. Like I just care about what I get from the product.
Yeah, and also like let's just dwell on this like decentralization aspect to begin with, right? I mean, like because like a lot of people go for that stuff, and I'll be like, I'll give you a free eyeball when you tell me that you're decentralized, right? Like I'll be the judge of that. Like even when I'm saying, yo, Bitcoin's decentralized, right? Like I don't know, like you guys heard about Foundry, I did. Right, so it's real difficult, right? And I hope I'm not gonna get canceled for saying this stuff, but I genuinely don't think that centralization is something inherently bad, right? And if you think about like we're talking about just decentralized governance, right? But like governance in general, right? If you think about tokens giving you like voting rights, right? They give you these rights very early on, which is fine. But now, when was the last time you guys like had multiple businesses, right? When was the last time you hit the nail on the head on the first try?
Never.
Yeah, exactly.
When do you stop your market analysis? Where do you stop your market discovery? Where do you start your, user persona analysis? Never. And you learn as you go. And I would argue that this is the best thing about starting a business, because you either got to make it and be rich, or you got to be broke, but you got to be wiser. But the fact of the matter is that you're constantly learning. If you introduce actors early on who have command of the voting right? They don't necessarily need to act in the business's best interest. They got to act in their own best interest, right? So like to go back to like whether you should burn or like give it back to the treasury, I'm of the opinion you should just put it back in the treasury.
Yeah.
So then what about the voting rights? You get to vote and I get to vote. It's like, I'm not gonna be like naming things, but you know what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, that's cool, guys. So I hear you and I disagree with that, okay? And this is what I gotta do, because at the end of the day, you're the business owner. It is your ass on the line, okay? And you might not make a couple of loudmouths on Twitter happy, but you gotta stay out of prison.
Yeah.
And the people who basically don't go whining on Twitter might be happy, right? But you can't make everybody happy. I'm trying to get it. Right?
But again, that's the how do we align incentives? Because right now with shareholders, there's sometimes a conflict of interest between the shareholders and the executives, because the shareholders want to maximize their shareholdings, their
price,
returns,
or share price,
their share price, and the executive might say, "I'm okay with losing some money this year if we grow our market share." And okay, so how do you align those two? Well, you can hopefully convince your shareholders that this strategy is going to make their share price higher in the end. And so there's always those kinds of that's the job of the CEO and the chair of the board, is to have these negotiations with the board and the shareholders, but also manage the business on the inside. Not that our token holders are shareholders in any way. When we give them voting rights, we do give them a little bit of that function. But I feel like our opportunity to align good outcomes is much easier in Web3 models than in the traditional shareholder business operator executive model.
But okay, but the premise I think may be a little bit we're all operating on is crypto in a lot of ways is fundamentally meme coins and that sort of thing are the biggest product market fit, right? Between the poly markets and the pumped out funds, that's where everything happens. That's a vast majority. There does seem to be a slow shift, especially in the US now. You're starting to see more institutional participation and that sort of thing. So when us as DePIN founders and creators of these projects, when trying to push these things, are we looking at the premise that, look, the initial people that are going to be interested in the token or when it launches and that sort of thing are going to be this small niche of the larger subset, and rationality and long-term value is going to kick in more and more over time? Or are we doomed to only have really just a tiny portion of crypto that cares about meaningful value? And
So we'll put this in context, right? Like if I can raise $9 million in our TGE, I'll be very happy. But that's going to help me get to 200 million in ARR in 18 months. Like the numbers are
right, it depends on that.
Very skewed.
How
and
are
I'm
you
going
thinking
into a
about
$45 billion market. So
right.
like
it's about just the bootstrap. How much do you need to bootstrap this
There's
solid?
an awareness function for TGE, which I think is one of the hardest ones, is every person that holds a token is talking about your token. Yeah. And somebody at some enterprise is the engineer for some project that could use your project's technology. And I recognize this, and I'm not going to say which company it was, but there was a big payments processing company I was working with when I was at Hedera. And I had talked to the executive team, I talked to the management team. Everybody was like, Hedera is a superior technology. We're going forward with Hedera for our stablecoin deployment. All of this stuff, like it was aligned, we had sign-offs, everything to go. And then I found out like a week later, they were like, no, we're not going to do it. And we were like, what is going on? It's because the guy that was going to implement it, their engineer, was an Ethereum maxi. And that was it. He was just like, I know Solidity. And I'm an Ethereum maxi. And it overrode all of the discussions, months of discussions with executives and managers, and everybody was aligned, and we thought this is a done deal. They're going to tell their engineers what to do. And that wasn't the case. So Ethereum did a great job, as a community, building that kind of that equity with engineers. And so I think of TGE is an extension of marketing, but it gets people excited about it, creates interest, creates awareness. People start exploring your technology. They start buying your devices and installing them and going, I'm actually now interested in air traffic control data and communications and game and robotics and AI synchronization stuff. Like they're like, oh, I'm actually now interested in that. And then when you go talk to Google or IBM or a county or state municipality, and they're going, oh, we're actually interested in what you're doing because we have 3 people talking about you guys. Like they're calling you now. So I don't want to think about token holders as strictly a funding bootstrap. That is definitely a function of it. But I think more importantly, it's creating awareness and interest more than you could possibly do. I think of if multi-level marketing focused on products and not the opportunity, multi-level marketing is quite an effective marketing strategy. It incentivizes word of mouth activity. Now, if you're only selling building structures and selling the opportunity to multi-level marketing, it becomes very shady very quickly.
Like health insurance or whole life insurance.
But that's what we've seen. I mean, this is the same pattern we've seen. Is like in crypto, we have ICOs, ITOs, TGs, whatever you want to call it. All of them have been kind of this pump and dump Ponzi scheme style, but it's because the incentives have been misaligned and it's gotten that bad reputation, much like multi-level marketing would have. But it's a perfectly valid way to raise fund and create awareness. So the fundamental model is not bad. It's just it's been implemented and executed in probably the less than ethical ways over the last few years. DePIN, I think, is one of the places where I'm like, we can finally use it for the right thing, like create awareness for customers and node operators. Like we need operators and we need customers.
The definition of value that you produce is a lot more tangible.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that we need to dwell on what the value is. Because let's think about for instance, one of the market bubbles, right? Like how can you spot it out? Well, that's what, the stock price is and that's where the revenue is. Okay, if there's a big discrepancy, at some point, companies got to be like, no, that's not working, right? And it just revolves about the value, right? And that's why I also am very interested in DePIN, infrastructure in general, because the presentation of the value add that your company, your project delivers to the end user or whomever your stakeholder is a lot more tangible. You can explain that in a sentence.
Okay, well, I'm going to put Karam on the spot. What's your TAM?
Oh, massive. Damn near, what, a $500 billion market? Because it's telecommunications for 1.5 billion people.
What? Yeah, so what's your TAM?
So it depends on raw data that we sell now is about $200 million. Then rich data is about 400 million. The total application market of the applications that use the ADSB data is 22 billion.
Okay. And then if you ask me, I'm going to say just in the gaming use case, 45 billion gaming infrastructure. So every one of us was able to answer what our TAM was. We know what our market is. And it's much bigger than whatever we're going to raise in our TGE.
But that's actually really interesting because it only slowly dawning on me now that one of the interesting things is, so for a lot of DePIN projects, it's a B2B sort of approach, right? You've got your deployers that create the actual network, and then it's the proof of the whole thing is working, and then you go to the large enterprises and you're selling the data. I think I'm thinking along the lines of more vibe focusing a little bit, because for us, we're purely direct to consumer. Like I am not selling to Google. I am not selling to a lot. For me, it is entirely about the average consumer. And so that's why I really wonder about in the token market, who's retail versus who's institution. So in that sense, how do you think about what is the audience post TGE? Like who's going to be interested post launch?
Really, the only thing I care about post TGE, honestly, for me, is that the miners feel like they get enough value out of the network. I really don't care so much about anything else. But so obviously, there's some stuff that's within your control, and some stuff are outside of your control. So all we can do is, I'm focusing on building the business, but I don't want the token to be the only value that they get.
Yeah, I can't put the cart before the horse.
The trading of the token cannot be the only value. There needs to be a diversification of the value they get from participating and getting the token. They can maybe use it for different things. Because if the token trading value is the only thing, then you live and die by just like the fluctuations that will inevitably happen. But if you get enough users that feel like they get value from multiple aspects of being part of your project, they're less sensitive to token fluctuations.
Right, being part of Wingbits gives me value.
Yeah,
even if I get
so like
flight tickets cheaper because I care about flights.
Maybe for like you have a flight radar. You don't have 40,000 people sharing data for free because they like the map.
Right.
Okay, well, so if you let's say we have a platform that provides a better map, better functionality, and then they also get the token. The token should be like an extra add-on. They should get if you can bring enough value outside of the token, then the token is just a bonus.
Makes sense.
Because the churn is the biggest thing. Like because some stuff you outside your control. You have all these big players that essentially control the market. What they want to happen kind of happens. So that's why I'm looking at it. Just trying to make the value in the platform itself for the users long term, not just on the token.
Well, and let's make
That
that a little
makes
more
sense,
concrete because even like I think I've mentioned it a couple times, talking with legislators and regulators. I have a friend who's deputy commissioner at DFPI, the Department for Financial Protection and Innovation in California. And she basically was like, listen, you cannot have operators providing a service for a business getting paid in a speculative token. That does not work.
Okay.
I will treat that like a casino. She's like, I will treat that like meme coins and crypto. She's like, but if you can figure out a way to take your revenue and pass that through to your operators in the same value format. So in our case, when we get revenue or when somebody swipes a credit card and gets an API key, they get credits on the network just like you would on any other SaaS platform. When they spend that credit and that work gets completed, the operators get rewarded in reward points, which is backed by the same USD that was used to spend it. And that operator can just like cash out to USDC if they want. We have off-ramp rails just for that. And they're out of the network. Great. They just made USD. They can cash out for USDC and then swap for Tashi. And that's acceptable too. If they stake Tashi, we actually reward them again in the USDC reward points to say, hey, you did an action that is helpful for our network's value. We're going to reward you again in USDC. Oh, you're going to use that reward point as a credit in our network. So you are both a provider and a consumer of services in our network. We're going to reward you again with a little bit more of a bonus. So it incentivizes keeping that value in the network. And if it's going to leave the network, it incentivizes staking into the token. And so when I presented this to my friend, she said, okay, but these guys, when they get paid, they're getting paid in the same denomination that is being captured by the business, correct? And I said, yes. She goes, okay, that model I'm okay with. And she wants me to do an analysis of this. So we're working on some stuff around that and partnering with people and figuring out who's going to be part of the analysis. But she wants an analysis of it that's more concrete, that people who are actually generating revenue and showing that this is working across various businesses. And she says, if you did that, I'd be willing to push forward an opinion letter in California that says this model is not enforceable in the way that we enforce crypto in California.
That's really interesting.
I mean, if you dwell on the definition of what a token is, that's literally what a token is. Because you're clearing that internally on the books.
Yep.
It stays inside, okay? Does it have any speculative value? Yeah. But does it leave the system? No. You're golden.
Yeah. Well, and the one that does have speculative value is the one that's meant to have speculative value, that is meant to be burnt or slashed if you do something bad. It's like, this is my collateral, is the staked token. But if you're an operator and all you want to do is just operate, like, cool, you get USD. You can go pay your electric bills with that now, and that's great.
100%.
Now, the added value part, and this is where we've talked with Conduit and GeoNet, we've had this discussion with Flux. Hopefully we'll talk to you guys more about it and you guys more about it. But the idea that each of us has a service we're offering that consumers can benefit from in some way, and sometimes consumers are also businesses. But we've got these things. Wouldn't it be cool if we found a way to cross-pollinate the value that's in our DePIN? So my reward points are now redeemable against your network services and your network services. Now we've created effectively a loyalty system between parties. And when we get the $10 million of value locked up in a loyalty system, we can now reach out to traditional loyalty platforms, which now means you can rent cars, buy.
It's so funny you said this because we literally said like we should do this with other DePINs. So we should definitely chat because we actually have some partnerships for that. They can essentially have a universal points.
Yes.
For a lot of cool things.
Yeah.
And it would make sense that many DePINs did it together.
Yeah. And the goal, the first step of that goal. So if we think about like, what is the optimal scenario? The optimal scenario in our model is a consumer pays at the top and an operator reuses that token in the network. The network grows in value. It's our GDP grows. GDP grows when you add value and when you reuse the same value. So when you respend the same dollar, you're adding value to the GDP. GDP grows, right? Or you can add value. If you're constantly leaking value, you have to create either a lot of activity or keep trying to bring in more value. And it's hard. It's a hard way to do it. But if you can incentivize keeping the value in your economy, you're growing the GDP of your economy. So I have a Tashi economy. But wouldn't it be cool if we had a DePIN economy where our economies grow with each other? And then maybe at some point we can take the total value of our economies and create derivatives of that.
Yeah.
Right? And now we've got other financial vehicles that can build on top of the value of our shared economy. It's a little bit bigger picture, maybe deeper than we need to go in this whole
Are we seeing
conversation.
that with fractals, stuff like fractals already? Like,
Well, fractals is different. Fractals is kind of
I mean,
like,
you guys will know it's about fractionalization.
it's
Yeah.
fractionalizing the ownership of assets, of resources in the network. This one goes a little bit further in saying like, if we can keep value in the network, when we talked about the value of your coin being calculated by your velocity, one of the variables is velocity. How quickly does value come into and leave your network? If you can have value come in quickly and then never leave because there's no reason to leave because I get all these benefits, because I'm going to be really careful about how I say this, but have you ever been taxed on redeeming reward points?
no.
So if you received reward points for operating a node and then you can go buy plane tickets and rent cars and buy laptops with it in a reward model, does that become tax efficient in a way that we don't really have today?
Interesting.
So anyway, I'm not going to go.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, that's brave.
I want to be really careful how far I go down.
Yeah.
Really deep into DePIN on
But
this one.
we're getting really deep into DePIN. But my point being is like, there's a bigger economic play here, and I have to be really picky about what people I partner with because they have to have businesses. They have to have revenue coming in. They have to be adding value to
Right.
the total economy. It can't be a token-driven model. Now, to your point though, you need money to start. So TGs make sense. You need awareness and you need buy-in. You need people who are committed to your token because they like the speculation side of it. You need people committed to your project because they like what you're offering and potentially are going to be customers or operators, right? So TG doesn't have to just be like, I want to raise a token and then pump it. Now, that being said, I think we need to be a lot more pragmatic about how we release our tokens, which is what the entire Web3 space is telling us not to do right now. They're saying airdrops, pump, day one, you got to like not drop. And
When Moon Lambo.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
When Lambo, when Moon, all of those things. And I get it, but that's what has been. And now we're bringing business models and we don't want to risk the business because of the hype that has existed, the hype model that's existed. And it's fine. People go to casinos all the time, and I'm fine with people.
There's a nice one down over here.
I'm fine with people gambling at casinos. That's totally up to them. If they
It's
want,
really wild though. This is something that we noticed. So the casino entrance is right opposite the entrance to Token 2049. But you do not see the crypto crowd bleeding into the casino, and you do not see the casino crowd crossing over into the crypto side of things.
That's
at
the
all.
unspoken wall that we do not cross.
Right.
long lost cousins. They just
We just branched away, early in our evolution. That's it.
we're not that. Well, at least we're not that.
Yeah. Ugh.
At least we don't invest in crypto. At least I don't gamble my money away.
Makes sense.
It's like
But
you
for,
should
we
do
don't
it.
have time.
to your point, though, I mean, it is a challenge because like it's kind of evolving
Yes.
to like real stuff, and I think the projects are now evolving a little faster than the industry is adopting to accommodating that type of project. But I think over time, there's going to come better ways of doing it than has been in the past.
Well,
Because it's not aligned, so like
and also-
it's not aligned between what I'm trying to do and what the crypto industry wants. It's like opposite.
But do you
sometimes.
think as institutions are starting to come in, then you're going to get more rational traders starting to come in?
I think first, what I'm seeing at least is a lot of new talent coming in. A lot of Web 2 people is coming into Web 3, and they're starting like, here's a problem. This is a solution, and just sometimes the best way to solve it is utilizing this model. I think we're seeing adoption
So the
there.
market's going to react to what's actually being
I mean,
built.
just my thought. Again, I have no idea, but it's like, okay, if more people build real stuff,
Right.
some of those are gonna figure out the model that is more sustainable and show like this is how you can do it in a sustainable way. And then, if more and more people do that and there's big projects, then the rest of the industry kind of have to adhere to a little bit more reasonable way of doing things. That's just my thought.
In the way I would probably reframe it is like, okay, you can get a 2x exit today, or you can create an annuity for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Like which one is, if you create these multiple lines of annuities through DePIN projects, and especially when they start integrating together and working together, and like it's much easier when you can install one device and participate in 3 networks or 4 networks.
That's going to have to happen.
Yeah.
Like really the fractionalization of like, because like, for example, if you have people like, you guys have a lot of locations, it would make so much sense to say, hey, there's 10 miners deployed. They're all deployed really well and they're good infra. And like me as a participant, I want the exposure, but I don't want to have 10 miners at home. I just buy 1/10 out of 10 miners.
So drop me an email and I got you sorted.
That makes sense, because why sit at home with 10 miners and spend $5,000?
Oh no, your house will burn down.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's not multi-miners, like partnerships between projects, multi-miners, or projects that their only job is to deploy and sell the fractions to the miners. I think that makes way more sense.
And just to add to that thing, because like you guys touched on 2 things that are like super important. Look, if you look at like different fiat currencies, right? Some openly say like what other currency basket they're pegged against. Some keep it hush. But there's a value, economic value that these jurisdictions present. And now if these jurisdictions are translated to models that are, projects that are tangible, that offer value add, they interact with each other, okay? Do we need external parties? We're open. We welcome you to join. But we can also, like just continue on building with builders. Those synergies are inevitably bound to happen at that point. And that would be that sustainable value we're talking about. Okay, that's where the value of the tokens actually is going to be able to, like show what it stands for. Yeah. And that's what I believe.
And by the way, I think that's what Web3 brings to the table. I mean, Web3 brings to the table a common language for us to operate without boundaries, without trust, in a way that in traditional businesses required lots of meetings and contracts and bank account transfers, right? And we can do it more seamlessly and quicker with the Web3 model. So this is why I think it's not so much about, there are some businesses, like our businesses here specifically, that benefit from Web3 just because the nature of Web3 aligns really well with the business model we're going after. But in the future, there's going to be a scenario where even businesses that don't align on a functional level can still align on an economic level, where we can start coordinating contracts, agreements, settlements, payments, and all that stuff through the Web3 model. Governance can go across these country and organizational boundaries. And so that's kind of what I think about is like, when I used to talk to billion-dollar companies recruiting council members for Hedera, and I'd go in and people would say, what's the use case that makes the most sense for me? I'd say, do you have any use cases that require you to cross organizational boundaries that currently have friction because of that integration point? And they go, yes, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if you could just like talk to your own database and not somebody else's API, and somehow your databases stayed synchronized? They'd be like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Now we can operate across boundaries. Wouldn't it be cool if there was like some type of an agreement that you guys could agree to that auto-settled and didn't require a middleman or a clearinghouse or something like that? And they're like, oh yeah, that'd be amazing. And so lots of use cases we talked about, went through, I've seen just about every enterprise use case you could think of. And that's really what we're talking about, is how do we reduce the boundaries between the participants and economies? That's the real thing about it, because economies are made up of people.
Agreed.
And businesses are made up of people. And there are boundaries naturally between us, whether it's our 4 walls, whether it's our bank accounts, whether it's our country borders. There are boundaries between us. And the question is, how do we minimize the impact or the friction that comes with those boundaries? And Web3 presents the most optimal way to do that now. But I don't see people doing that yet. What I see is a lot of people gambling, which again, no shade to the people gambling. That's its own niche. Go do your thing.
Just own it.
Just own it. And then you can see it in one-sided markets. If there's only one type of persona that's engaging with your project, you're a one-sided market, very much likely you're a gambling project, right? When you have a two-sided market where you've got a consumer and a producer, now we're talking about an exchange of value between multiple parties. Or in our case, you could argue 3-party market where you've got those of us in between that are facilitating, so the facilitators between the consumers and producers. And so you've got a 2 or 3-party market where value is actually being exchanged. But if there's a 1-party market, I'm not going to say a trader that trades with another trader is not in this sense, a two-party market. You're not exchanging
It's clear,
different
right?
things of value. You're exchanging the same things of value. So it's really a one persona style market. So maybe that's the way to think about it. It's like it's a single persona market versus a multiple persona market.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And we've had a very amazing conversation. I know we're probably going to get kicked out of here pretty
Yeah,
soon.
any minute now.
I know the owner, so we're okay.
I would love to wrap things up, though. I mean, we've talked about a lot of different things, but honestly, just to kind of relay it to the viewers here, maybe some words of wisdom, maybe some words of advice, some last takes, if you want to bring it back to the Spaces vibe there. Or even if you want to drop when your TGEs will be. I mean, that's pretty juicy stuff, right? But I'll
Asking
start.
for some alpha right now. I know.
No, I try to fish. But I'll start with Robin. We'll go to Robin, Lucas, Ken, and then we'll end off with Karam, and then we'll end things there.
So, I mean, our TG is coming up. I'm not going to say the date yet, but we have a date set. So when we get closer to it, I'll let everyone know.
I tried, guys. I tried.
What a day. But no, so I think we're feeling pretty good about that. Word of advice. Just know that you don't know. And just
Know that you
Bang
don't
on,
know.
bang
That should be a song.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just like going into the space, like everything being new. I mean, it's like, I think you just know that you don't know and just ask enough questions and know that things are going to change. And I think for us, my main thing we're going to make changes. I think the main thing is for us to tell our community why we're doing the change and have good reasoning and be transparent with communication. I think transparency in the space is extremely important because trust is low.
Yeah.
And I think for the communities, it's all about building trust and then believing you're working towards the right thing. And from what I felt like our community has been super understanding of these big changes if you just explain to them why and it's actually a good reason behind the change. So transparent, good communication, keep them up to speed, and know that you don't know.
Solid.
That's my advice.
Know that you don't know. Thank you so much there, Robin. Lucas, go for it.
So our TG is due to happen minus 11 months from now. Is that right? I think
Can we go back in time?
dude, if you know how to do that, then yeah, I want to go with it. Don't quote me on that, but I think that happened like last December or something like that, right? And I'd say have a clearly articulated vision, have a clearly articulated mission statement. Don't forget why you started to begin with, but be flexible at the same time because you got to learn a lot down the road. And you don't want to be brickhead here, okay? You may want to just exercise a little bit of flexibility here, and that's got to get you there, okay? Everything around that, okay, it's a value add. For as long as synthetic sugar. For as long as you can present that value, continue building, okay, by learning doing so, you may just succeed.
No, very well said. Ken.
In the next few months is our TGE.
Awesome.
That's as narrow as I want to get.
Coming soon.
Coming soon.
Coming soon to a theater near you.
Well, the important thing is like we've got certain milestones we have to hit. We just finished testing our staking contract. We have to have that ready for TGE. Like rule number one for us internally is if people don't have something to do with our token at TGE, then why are we doing the TGE? Like they need something to do with the token day one, and that is that dynamic staking to support the DePIN. And so that's like our first thing is like we will announce TGE when that's fully tested and ready to deploy. Just to be clear, we just finished testing the staking contract. So very soon is my expectation.
I've heard that once or twice.
Yeah. Very soon, TM. So we've got that. As far as advice goes, I mean, if you are legitimate, okay, I'm just going to say, like, call it as it is. Like, be honest with what your intentions are. If you are in a project and you're not sure how you guys are going to generate revenue or not sure what your TAM is, like how big your market is, like, just be honest with yourself. Like, okay, we're speculating this is a high-risk project. It could be equivalent to gambling depending on what you're trying to do, but just be honest about it. Own it. But if you've got, like, a vision with a TAM and you understand your revenue models, you understand your go-to-market, you've done your product market fit, so you know who your customers are and that they want what you're building.
You're ahead of the curve already.
Well, first of all, this is like business 101, right? Like if you
pretty basic stuff.
anytime you build a company, if you go to any accelerator, the first thing you're going to say is like in 90 days we're going to prove product market fit from inception to the 90 day. They're going to say, we're going to prove product market fit between now and then. So you're going to refine pitching, you're going to refine all of your go-to-market strategy, and then you're going to have customers at the end of 90 days. Like, know that people will pay you for your product.
Yeah.
If you don't know that stuff, like, what are we doing with tokens?
You don't know who those people
Yeah,
are.
because I think we talked to 50 plus customers before we built anything.
Yes.
Because like if we build it, will you pay for it? Kind of.
Yep.
So it's kind of like but also you're doing yourself a massive disservice if you don't want to do the grunt work to validate, and then you build something for 2 years that has no value.
You're
and then,
operating in a belief bubble.
you're just
It's
wasting your
boxes
time.
You're wasting
up
your
and
own
down.
You're
time.
wasting your time. Yeah, it's a way
If
big
you
waste.
build it, they won't come.
I feel like you don't have. I feel like you don't have any self-respect if you are willing to waste your own time for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without like spend 5 weeks trying to validate it. You know, it's not like it doesn't take that long.
Yeah.
I mean, like you got to do the legwork. Like ain't nobody got to do that for you.
Yeah,
If you're
yeah.
the founder, like you got the vision. Like
Yeah.
So
Do the work.
own your stuff.
Yeah. That's
Own
good.
your stuff. No, I love that.
But
Absolutely
you
love
can
that.
replace stuff with another word. They just don't swear. So
But we'll censor that out. We'll censor that out. But Karam, by all means.
So the thing that stuck with me the most is pepper crabs for sure. It's the only thing.
oh, my man, right there.
Oh my God.
No, I'm just waiting for that. But yeah, no, we're really excited, right? I'm vegetarian, but I'm open to change with the level of enthusiasm
We're converting.
in this. But yeah, no, I agree. I think we've also, all of these same principles resonated with us really well, where we've got product market fit, we know who our customer is, we've got solid revenue coming in, and we're feeling really good about building up to our TGE. And I guess we're going to be announcing things about our vault fairly soon. And so I guess if you're listening to this, please stay tuned for that.
Excellent. Yeah, no, everyone, thank you so much. It's been an incredible podcast. Viewers, if you're not already following Wingbits, Pinlink, Tashi Network, and of course, Dabba Network, make sure you're already doing that. And yeah, I guess I'll catch you guys next week. DePIN on Twitter, Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern. See you guys there. Everyone, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so
guys.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Sweet.